Right, we're back. So, the next set of text will be mainly there to, well, to put it rather simply, max out the science production so I can get more text more quickly. Well, the other text more quickly, I should say. This desert camp with a windmill. Well, technically speaking, a wind turbine. But yeah, last time had ended on a God is dead and we have killed him note, sort of. Or, well, it was close enough for me to make that connection, so... But it was at the end of the session, so I wasn't able to say much of anything about it. But, well, here we are. And I can start talking on it, at least once I've figured out something to build. I mean, Bell Labs would give me a huge amount of science in whatever city I build it in, so... Sure. That is not what I meant to build. I click Kingdom Center instead. Which is interesting. Sure, but I'd rather do Bell Labs because that is 200 science. From a single construction, that is quite a bit. It doesn't take any real investment. Okay, fast breeder reactor, high tech, small reactor factory. Let's go that too. The Zoolite. Huh. The biofuel power plant actually does have greater efficiency than the other options. So that goes first. Right, let me get that digital offices set up. Just to double check. I know I've been hammering on that lately. Oh, Persepolis. Okay. Yep, you've got pretty much everything. A lot of things that need to be done on the outside, but bauxite, freelance marketplace, rock fuel refinery, the supercomputer? Yeah, supercomputer. There. I can come back to Persepolis later. But yeah. So, the phrase, God is dead and we have killed him, comes from a philosopher known as Nietzsche, who has the dubious honor of being one of the most misunderstood philosophers in history. Blame the Nazis. Or, well, perhaps better put, his sister was very much in favor of the Nazis, and so edited his final work, which was published posthumously, but she did edit it in order to make it favorable of Nazi ideology. Because a reading of it that doesn't really go too deeply into it. Could very easily misinterpret the concept of a superhuman as, oh, you know, well, in a context that makes sense to nationalism, the idea that certain people are just better, but really the idea is, um, it's been a while since I've read anything on Nietzsche. I think the idea was that there are people that see themselves as better than everyone else, even if that's not necessarily the case. Right? Either way, it's his conception of the superhuman was very different from what nationalists like to push, or at least nationalists in the vein of the Nazis. That's probably the most succinct way to put it. In effect, he was very disdainful towards nationalists and the like. Very, very disdainful. He just didn't like them. But the whole God is dead and we have killed him is often misinterpreted as positive. Somehow. When in actuality, what he was lamenting about how we have killed off an important part of our society through rampant secularism. One that we were relying on to provide moral direction, and now we have to, in order to obtain moral direction, figure out our own morality and whatnot. Which is difficult, but, well. And honestly, it's perfectly fine. Most people, outside of the most ardent of religious folk, agree with the idea that religion is in large part human. Many of its aspects are stuff that we have directly worked on. And nothing, well, yeah. Like the common position for most Christians, for example, is that the Bible, while divinely inspired, is still a human creation and is therefore, to some extent, fallible and can be wrong. So, no matter how much you believe that religions are, well, the concept of deities are real, to some extent, the morality that religions provide are human created. Oh, of course, when I build a windmill there, an ore appears. Seriously? Seriously? I mean, titanium is something, it's cool and all, but you really have to appear when I finally decided to, I'm not going to find anything here with a desert camp. Let me just replace it with a building that can get some yields out of it. Okay. I don't need to build the ethanol station yet. I think it's better if I just build the digital offices. Okay. The style's being worked, so I may as well improve it. I mean, there's nothing quite as direct as this is good, work on it, of an example as that. Ah, botanical gardens. It's just a minor wonder. Didn't need any animations. But admittedly, I figured that the animation count might go down. Is it worth it? Yes. It's a lot of food lost, but I've got other farms, so it's not as bad as it potentially could be. You want to work that tile? Well, improve the tile, but yeah. Right. I prefer the hydro dam over the windmill. Okay, let's get you the science. Let's get your science output up. Yeah, I'm not building that. The wildlife sanctuary only provides a large amount of commerce, and the city could use more production. In order to speed it along. But yeah. All but the most die-hard, divinely inspired faiths do agree on religion having a human element somewhere. So even if you do in fact believe in some sort of deity that is the source of all morality, humans at least have some experience in how moralities are defined. Okay, so that is a forest tile. It's just hard to see because there are only like 5 trees, and they look to be the same color as the lush tiles over here. Okay. So, even if we don't have any direct experience in creating that, which I personally don't believe, but then we have, to some extent, at least some experience in handling morality of some kind. Which is almost certainly better than nothing. Well, isn't that a surprise? Yeah. Some aspect of it, and, well, what is not the point of an apprenticeship if not slowly guiding the apprentice towards being able to act on their own and independently? So you could feasibly argue that even if humans have no inherent capability of generating a morality, the fact that we've handled one for millennia, even if not actively, implies that, well, that we can learn how to do it ourselves through this long process. So, you know.
A month in the laboratory can often save an hour in the library.
That's a funny statement. Because I immediately know exactly the kind of sentiment that can cause that. Oh, wow, this is interesting. Let me play around with it to see how it works. 1 month later. Oh, it turns out we've already discovered this ages ago, and if I had checked the library, I would know this. Yep. Back to the topic at hand, though. It is, however, fairly simple. We should have the capability to do it by now, since we've been handling through effectively an apprenticeship program. I guess that's close enough. I mean, what else would you call the masses of priests interpreting scripture? Really, I mean, I can't think of a better way. That's not much. Okay, yeah, just tree farm, tree farm. It's 15 production more at the cost of 3 commerce? I thought I can plant trees there, like, or bamboo or something. I mean, it's not an ancient forest, which is top quality when it comes to what it gives you. Oh, wait, did I remember to road that tile? Oops. I have to go back to that and handle it myself. Anyway, tile doesn't have anything on it. Wow. Quarry. Yeah, there's nothing else. Okay. At least nothing else that will come up and without new tech being involved. And the latest stream of techs don't really add any production buildings. Oops, sorry. But yeah, at the very least, we should have the capability to work towards defining a new morality that isn't dependent on religion. Of course, so many people are going to start caressing their holy writings for comfort at such a thought. But seriously, there are a lot of problems with religious morality. The biggest of them? What if it's not your religion? Of course, the solution to that could be fairly simple. Start sectioning everyone off by their phase. And while we're at it, why not do that by cultures too? Well, congratulations, you just reinvented segregation. Of course, that sadly might convince some people. Well, that's a good idea. To which I must say it is not. Anyway. So, simply put, you're going to have to interact with other people of other groups anyway, even if it's only to delimitate, okay, this is where we're allowed to go, and this is where you're allowed to go. And otherwise, no contact. Pleasure doing business with you. That sort of a thing. It needs to be, there needs to be some level of communication for that to work. At least functionally, for any long period of time. In theory, you can do that with a bunch of guns and fire at will, but I think most people can easily tell that that's not going to be a stable situation. And very quickly, things will start to go wrong. And I mean very quickly. But back to the topic at hand. If the morality of a society is based on a religion, then people of other faiths will likely feel out of place. Because while there tend to be a lot of very general trends that everyone agrees on, surprisingly many in fact, at least, well, okay, maybe not surprisingly many, pretty much any explanation other than all the gods exist does make it sensible, even if it's, oh, our gods came in under a false guise in order to teach them the true path without upsetting them, or some nonsense like that. Yeah, the ye old Roman system. Always leads to funny consequences. So, a move towards secularization should actually be a good thing for most people. Unless, of course, they're part of the dominant faith of the local society and believe that the dominant faith is good and should be spread to everyone. Or at least should remain in an important position of strength. Or have been convinced by other people that such is in fact the case, that it should remain that way. Hello, religious conservatism. And the belief that introducing slight adjustments to the economic situation is the work of insert evil entity. Doesn't have to be any real specific entity. Let's see here. Wow. Tricky to figure out something good to build. Okay, the biofuel plant should probably be built sooner than that. So, yeah. Nah, it's not worth the idea of that. Improving the connections can help. Where was I? Yeah. generally speaking, a loosening of what is and what is not a moral thing to do tends to be helpful because it implies less pressure on people to conform. And so they are freer to act as who they are rather than what society thinks they should be. Of course, the total removal was probably a bad idea. The simple fact is most people were vaguely reasonable and tend to dislike the idea of ruining other people's lives for uh, personal entertainment, so their opinion can be shifted. I'm pretty sure that one shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. Okay, just want to double check that. Yeah, I don't think there's any other things here that could really benefit from this specific upgrade. It's not on this island. Okay, I think it might be time to move you back and have you handle stuff up here. Improved infrastructure, anyway. The London Eye. Sketch of that aqua farm, at the very least. Yeah, the rest of the food buildings too. You can do science stuff later. How many cities have completed their queue this turn? Seriously. It's getting mildly annoying. Good lord. Okay, so, as I was saying, if the morality of our society is in fact genuinely sourced from some sort of divine extra-human entity or superhuman entity, then our long experience of having interacted and interpreted said morality should imply that we are capable of handling things ourselves by now, since we have so much experience in doing so. And I mean it's a lot. We have had religious individuals. Oh my god. Okay, we have had religious individuals look at these works of, well, at least according to the people that agree with them, look at these works of great morality and interpret what they mean by such and such sentence for a very long time. And I do mean quite a long time. There has been a structural, well, yeah, basically for as long as any of the major religions have existed, there's been some sort of grouping of religious individuals that told people how, stories of the faith, how they should be interpreted, and the lessons to be learned from said interpretations, etc., etc. Right, I was looking for the animation studio. Okay. Thank you. Finally. So it stands to reason that over the course of these thousands of years, because it has to be at least 3. Seriously, it has to be at least 3. Although depending on the religion you subscribe to, it could be as less as, honestly, a few 100? Maybe? Couple hundred, yeah. Anything more recent is probably better classified as a cult. Although, admittedly, a religion is, to an extent, a cult that has managed to reform itself to a level of fanaticism that is actually sustainable in the long term. Yeah, okay. CAD studio being built. The city has its university set up. Good. Because, well, I mean, we all know the stories of mass suicides from religious cults. A fanatic enough religion will inevitably drive all of its members to death. Probably. It's dependent on multiple factors, but generally speaking, a lot of faiths believes that the end is coming at some point, and that has consequences. Yeah, computer science department. I probably should build that first, and there. Okay, it's good enough queue for that city. There are no more cities demanding queues, so that's at least that. There's at least that. Let's get that biomathematics. I want to try it. I want a gun for Vortex this session, please. I managed to get the first one in under 15 minutes. So. No, 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 not that. Ooh. Okay, so I can also mine this top. Oops. There's uranium here. I probably should remove the town. I'll get a little more production and commerce out of the tile too, which is quite nice. Okay, wrote it. Well, maglove it, to be precise. Let's put it on this tile instead. Yeah. Unless, I mean, of course, this entire argumentation goes down the drain if you believe that humans need to forevermore be handheld through all of our problems. But I have to say, this feels like a very defeatist attitude to me. And, of course, it is unsurprising that quite a few religions do, or at least religious tendencies. I don't think there's any one religion that does this entirely. Although I think every religious category has at least some tendency to push this perspective that humans are incapable of managing themselves.
When I was a little girl in the 2020s, my father told me he heard that a group of scientists are measuring life using mathematics. At the time I thought it was crazy, but now even little kids are playing God.
Oh, gesture recognition software. I mean, I knew the design studio, but that's still pretty good. Requires computers. Oh, just a computer resource, which, okay. The effect gives, yeah, happiness, health, and education per turn. Right, add some bamboo to the tile. It's fast growing, and as far as I'm aware, it doesn't burn down via a random event. Oh, good lord, there's a water mill and a hydro dam. And they're intersecting too. I wonder how that works. The modern windmill is a more valuable thing to put there, so I may as well. Yep, that was the academic database. Probably should set up the internet at some point. Yeah. As I was saying, the idea that humans are in sum total immoral beings without some sort of guidance is sadly a thing a lot of faiths do push. Tendencies within that, you know. Which I do find kind of sad. There is a more general version in which most people um, can't be moral without guidance, which is not quite the same, because it implies that there are some people that are capable of doing it and guiding others. I don't really like this sort of a thing for what I think are fairly obvious reasons. Specifically, the very, very interesting perspective that, well, okay, let me be straight then, because I can't think of any way to really seg into it well. It's basically a great vehicle for authoritarianism, since it implies that there are certain special people who are more capable of moral reasoning than the unwashed masses. Yeah. And with that, it's very easy to reason into some form of authoritarianism. Because, of course. Are some people less effective at using moral reasoning? Yes. Though I do also believe that it is, to a large extent, a matter of education. You have to learn to do moral reasoning. And if you're not taught effectively how to do so, then, well, then all you have is just natural talent. And that can only get you so far. Like, some people can be very moral without even needing to learn how to do so. Some of them can't. But just like with any skill, because moral reasoning is a skill, it can be taught and learned. People are capable of a lot with the right education. Like, once upon a time, well, a very long time ago, geometry was the height of mathematics. And yet so many of the things that, once were amazing insights, now are seen as common sense. Well, it's not because we're smarter than our ancestors. We just have a more powerful knowledge base, and we've learned over time how to simplify these insights into a manner that's much easier for most people to handle. And therefore, teach. Similarly, we have a huge moral basis to work off of. Not just religion, but also various other philosophies that are secular, or at least a-religious. Well, irreligious? Although, then again, secular and irreligious are the same. That are, some of them are atheistic, some of them are merely secular. But the point still stands. We've got so many potential sources for moral reasoning. Our own basic ideas that tend to crop up really often, plus some other aspects that we have learned over time. Regardless of what we're doing, we're capturing the energy of the sun, burning dead trees from hundreds of millions of years ago in order to harness the awesome power of a thunderstorm. All in the interests of watching silly little cat videos. Or to rant and rave at the injustice of it all. So that everyone can hear you. Regardless, it still very much implies that, well, humanity as a whole has grown since its early steps. I mean, this, to an extent, Caveman2Cosmos is just a presentation of that. We have come from very humble origins to effectively what we have here. I mean, there are very many differences, for example, global peace and whatnot, to the actual situation of in real life, yes. And I mean, looking at the calendar, very different timing. But in the end, the point is the same. We have come very far from what we once were. And does that not imply that we can take a look at things that we've done in the past, or have been given to us in the past, and, maybe try to do better? Some of the traditions we have are ancient. Some of them only feel ancient. But regardless, there's a lot to learn about the world, and we have learned quite a bit since some of those things have been created. So why not take the opportunity to have a look back, see what we've achieved, and ask, okay, this was cool. Can we do better, though? And by answering that question, we can strive pretty far. Now I just need to ensure that the order of these things are actually reasonable. All while cars honk in my ear. God, modern city sounds are annoying. I don't just mean in-game. Force enter. Okay. Yeah. So effectively, what I'm saying is that Nietzsche's own statement, "God is dead and we have killed him," was initially a lamentation over what we have done, moved towards a secular society, without effectively preparing for what this means. Namely, the fact that we have taken, well, something that our old morality has been very tied to, and casting it away. But something that I have not mentioned is that he also saw it as a potential opportunity. Sure, we may be unprepared for it, but if we can figure out a way to build up a morality independent of any, you know, supernatural consequences, etc. Oh, arbiters, consequences, arbiters, etc. If we can manage to do that, and then we definitely have the opportunity to strive quite a bit further than we already have. Maybe. The fact, like I said, it's been a while since I read anything on Nietzsche, so I might be completely wrong in saying this. But by throwing away something so old, we can finally take the opportunity to step in and ask, can we do better than our ancestors? Using the knowledge we have gained in the decades, centuries, millennia since. And, well, we can't know if we don't try. That has always been true. So, why not try? Of course, to an extent, that's, I believe, what the superhuman concept was about. Again, I'm basing this off of an imperfect memory, although memory is itself imperfect regardless of what you do. Oh hey, Wonder's done. Yeah, just doing some sunlight management. There we go. Ah, Morse code. Right. It's not extremely important. At least it means that the telephones are built a bit faster. But yeah, so we do have a lot going for us. The question of whether or not we're able to do something better, because we've done so before. If we had, well, relentlessly stuck with the old ways, we would still be running around in monarchies and whatnot. And while some people would like for that to be the case, it's quite obvious that it still is the case in some areas. It's quite plainly the case that more egalitarian societies and political structures are beneficial for the vast majority of people. Oh yeah, that's because that's a great
It
merchant.
is important to note that there are no age limitations on who can donate organs and tissue. Newborns as well as senior citizens have been organ donors.
Yep. No, I did get a great person. The chance of me getting a great... It, out of the last three, two of them have been unlikely great people. Oh well. The aeroponics lab can get me more science, more food. Yeah, and a couple more science buildings. Immunity drugs. Uh, yeah. Okay, this is pumpkins. I really should farm the tile. Plus the city, I think, needs a farm. Yeah. Guess Lofi just ended up getting it. Let me double check the city. Doesn't tell me the chances here. Okay, maybe they moved it. I might just have to do with this bar. No. Some aspect of needing to move the bar may have done that. Okay, and digital offices. Of course, there's always going to be some people that believe that morality is impossible without extra interference, but I mean, I personally don't think so. If we were innately all awful to each other, society would not work in the first place. Not in the slightest. What we have right now is still kind of dysfunctional, but it still, to some extent, works. Even if that extent can be mighty questionable at times. Up, time to put maglas everywhere, and at some point something useful comes up. Crap. I was hoping to go straight to the next turn, but I guess not. Come back to you later. Okay. CAD studio, and yeah. Well, technically I should do this first. Then that. I can wait until later. Oh, gone looking else. Okay, fine. Where's the modern one works? But yeah, the whole thing that God is dead and we have killed him is what it's really asking, because of course everything in philosophy is a question. why wouldn't it be, is what have we gained and lost from the rejection of religion in our society in general as a potent force? And are we ready to accept? So what are the benefits and losses? What do we gain? What do we lose? And is it worth it? Are we ready to handle what can happen? I mean, personally, I am. I'm not sure about the rest of society, but I personally think I can handle faithlessness in general. And to an extent, this is a question that we cannot decide on our own anyway. Because to an extent, it's decided by the people, by the society we live in, the people we live with, etc. Because, well, it's never that simple, is it? Well, that's fine. The interesting aspects of life all come from the fact that, well, stuff is complex. If everything had a simple answer, it would be boring. Although sometimes there is a simple answer, and people don't want to believe it because it's either too simple, or, how should I put this? If a person's livelihood is dependent on ignoring a fact, then in all likelihood that fact will continue to get ignored by said person. Such is life when the needs, when the resources you need to continue living are conditional on one thing or another. Yeah, I don't think there's going to be very many production buildings coming up, so go ahead and start beefing up science production in the city. Okay, the recreation center is better, probably. Fine up all the telephone network. Okay, I still need to do that, and there was also this. There it is. Okay, right. I'm gonna do my best to breeze through the next set of turns. Although I cannot avoid to some extent, needing to take the time to have a look and see what can be built in order to at least try and judge the best options. And of course, yeah, that happens. That definitely has a tendency to happen. From the tile, may as well. Wait, I'll think about it. I'm not sure. I don't think Goth had a farm in its city vicinity. So, yeah, there it is. Oh, the tile is out of anyone's reach. Okay. Okay. Right, next turn will be the last turn.
Cyberspace. A consensual hallucination experienced daily by billions of legitimate operators, in every nation, by children being taught mathematical concepts.
That's silly. But also kind of true. There is no real concept called cyberspace that, well, cyberspace isn't really a thing. There's no space. Anyway, the evolution simulator is actually pretty important because once I get rapid prototyping, it provides a production. Outside of that, well, the digital globe does give me science. It takes quite a bit. Theoretically, I can get that with a cislunar satellite, but generally speaking, the ones that aren't wonders usually aren't worth it because it just takes way too much effort. Okay, let me get through all the buildings and most of the units. Oh, it will be session. End. Still a CAD studio that needs to be made, of course. So, there you are. Oh, it was only one city? It's awfully nice. Okay. I've already wrote it up. Yeah, every tile around the fort's improved. I can get rid of it. Aha! I knew it wasn't that simple. Okay, so the recent burst in tech is definitely speeding things up. Okay, I think I had less than 600,000 before the start of the session, so yeah. I am definitely picking up in speed. At least in raw science amount. The only reason why these are taking longer in turns is because of just time. The later takes cost more, so obviously. Like this can be now researched in 7 turns. Before I went through this, it would have taken like 8 or 9. So my ability to research is definitely picking up. Yeah, I think I might go for wearable computers next. Because the smartphone and tablet manufacturer can get me some more production. Oh, there's speech recognition software for someone about um, artificial intelligence lab, maybe. Then again, there's the 3D printing mill, which replaces the parts plant, gives me another plus 5% production. Ooh. Oh, and there's a makerspace. Okay, so after I do that stuff, yeah, 3D printing. That plus 5% production can get me quite far. Almost surprisingly so. After that, well, yeah. That's something I should decide in a later session when I'm not already 8.5, 8 3/4 minutes over past the hour. So, I'll probably build a fort in one of these tiles just because, I mean, I have experienced barbarians spawning when they shouldn't be. I think now that there are no more invisible land tiles, they may start cropping up. But then again, I haven't seen any in ages. I don't remember what the last barb was or where they were. It's just, yeah, I don't remember them at all. Not sure when they came along or where. Okay, all the tiles surrounding that are ready to go, so probably should at some point, but yeah. Um, Definitely getting closer to that next level, although it's still taking a very long time. 200 turns-ish? Yeah. I'll have to wait until 6750 that turn. Around. In order to get new traits. That's fine. I haven't specifically been trying to build culture. I'm mainly focused on science, which can get me even more production, which can get me even further. In theory. In practice, that might be a bit more difficult. Well. Anyway. Yeah, I've definitely gone on long enough. I'll see you again next time. Until then.